The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, along with Eric Aguilar, who is off again this week, taking some classes. He never stops. He's a beast. But we've got guest host Forrest Kelly back with us, the best 5-minute wine podcast host. How are you, Mr. Kelly?
Doing great, Doug. Looking forward to helping out again. I don't think I can build on anything I did last week, so I don't know.
I guess we'll find out, right? We'll just have to listen and find out. So I'm a polio survivor, crutch and brace user for years, and transitioned into a wheelchair over the last 20 years. And Forrest, what's your disability status? Has it changed since last time?
I'm an AB. I'm an AB. What's that?
Yeah, I was wondering if it changed since the last time we talked to you.
I could say this, though. I'm on zero medication. And so if you come over to my house for one of my wife loves to have parties, you come over for the Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, the 4th of July party or any of those, and you go into our bathroom and you open up the medicine cabinet, there's nothing going on in there.
You're going to be denied. So this is, at this point, this is indefinitely, is what you would say.
Hopefully.
Right, ongoing and maybe never to happen again.
Okay. On a side note, thank you for your insights on helping with my mother. We're navigating her, getting her a pacemaker.
Yeah.
And so we're hitting some obstacles, and Doug's helping me out.
Well, that's one of the things I could share with you, too. I think I've kept you up to date. I just recently had a couple of visits with my cardiologist and then to another cardiologist that he referred me to, and I've been going through MRIs and stuff with them, just mostly as a diagnostic, not that there was any issue, but just a further diagnostic to make sure that they're both doing the most that they can for me. So I had a visit with the one that he referred me to. Everything was fine. I left there, and I had told them about this particular kind of episode I have from time to time. And when I say time to time, maybe once, maybe twice a year. Well, I had one the next day. And so I have one of those cardiomobile units where I could take my own EKG, and the cardiologists are, they love those. Especially if you have some kind of episode and you can catch and take an EKG while you're in the middle of the episode, man, that's golden. So I was able to.
Tell me about that mobile machine. So you're not hooking up leads, are you?
No. All it is a little pad that you just put, 2 fingers on. There's 2 pads. You put your first finger, your pointing finger, and your other pointing finger when you're mad at somebody on those little pads. And it takes a 30-second EKG. It's got a little printout. You download it onto a PDF. You can email it to your doctor if you'd like, or keep a record and take it to him when you go for your visit. So there was this huge spike that happened, and whether it was, just some kind of anomaly or noise, as they kind of call it wasn't really anything your heart was doing. You don't know, so you send it off to them, and they look at it, and it was enough to kind of make have a concern. So they talked to me about maybe doing a monitor. There's a monitor. You used to carry it like this big box around your neck, and you had to sleep with it and everything for a week or two, depending. But I get it. It comes in the mail, but I couldn't ascertain. It wasn't in the box anywhere. I couldn't ascertain which one of these cardiologists ordered it. So, you can wear it for a day or two, or you can wear it for a week or two. So I wasn't going to put it on and not knowing when I need to take it off. So, I called the doctor. I call my primary, and, we don't know. And then I called the other one. No, we didn't order it. Well, no, So I called back to the first one. No, we don't have any records of us doing that. Okay. So finally I get a phone call from the people that sent the monitor to me, and they say, we show that we've sent you a monitor. Your doctor, this is the way they put it, we see that your doctor ordered a monitor and that it arrived already. So you should be 3 days away from ending the monitor and then just send it back. And I'm like, they say the doctor. Well, they don't tell me what doctor. So I'm not starting that thing till I know when I have to finish it. because you've got leads on you and it's 24/7. So, you have to be able to go through whatever process to unhook it while you take a shower and then put it back on. And sounds like a lot of trouble. So anyway, but I got to do it. So I like to keep myself healthy. So
what do they call this thing?
Well, they call it a Holter monitor is what they used to call it. Whether it still is, I don't know if that's somebody who was the doctor that invented it or why, and I don't even know if they call it this. It's some kind of it's a continually, recording everything that your heart's doing. And then
this isn't the EKG machine, the mobile EKG.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Well, it's some sort of EKG because there are actually 5 leads that you tape to your chest. Yeah. So it's some kind of EKG. Yeah.
I'll talk to you more off air. But
yeah. So that's the next thing. Yeah, you can ask about it, right, and stay on top of that. Yeah. Good. And then went up to San Luis Obispo over the weekend. Had a nice visit there. I reconnected, if you remember, a few weeks ago, probably getting to be about 2 months ago, with Addie Rich, who was the young lady who was the poster child. And again, we had a little discussion about this. Do they do that anymore? I don't. Somehow I think that's not acceptable anymore to have a poster child. But anyway, she was at 7 years old, years and years ago, and I left the area to come and live in Southern California, and both went on to our lives, and you can hear all about it in the episode of Walk and Roll Live where Addie Rich was on. Well, she lives back east. She came out to visit her family who are still in San Luis Obispo. So we were actually able to get together face to face, having lunch and just share. And they brought and I'll share these, but they brought a photo album with a bunch of photos. At some point, we had a birthday party for her with the radio station that I worked at then there, and tied it into a live broadcast at a car wash. How small town radio is that? And, she was there, of course, and there was all kinds of pictures from that. So they're going to scan those and send them. Don't want to bury the lead here, but Addie's mom also said, I have a cassette recording somewhere of your last show on the radio station before I left to come to Southern California. And, Forrest and I, we've talked about this all the years I was on the radio. We're somewhere around the neighborhood of 40, 45 years. I have I probably could count on a 3-fingered hand how many, recordings I have from all those years. You just kind of do it. Goes off into the ether, and they're never to be heard from again. So
yeah, we're getting incoming. I can hear the.
I know. I'm just reaching for the
cellular hum near the electronics, and that's you and I. I think I've got one air check. They call them air checks.
Air checks. Yep.
So when you turn the microphone on in the studio of a radio station, that activates some recording device, and then when you take the mic off, so you're not recording 5 hours of music and talking. So it's condensed, and we call those air checks. Well, I worked with a guy in San Francisco that had every single air check that he had ever done.
Oh, that's right.
He labeled them show 1, and when I worked with him in San Francisco, he was up to, I think, 10,000 or something shows. And he would start a show with, he would say, hey, this is so-and-so, and the guy, JD.
I was going to say, I was going to tell everybody that's how small the community of radio can be. I had worked with him 30 years ago, and then Forrest, probably about close to a decade later, you worked with him.
Yeah. He'd start every show, this is JD, and this is show number 395, or whatever you would say. But for her to do that is a dedicated fan to... Because not everybody's got the electronic equipment. I was taking my son to volleyball this morning and at 5 a.m. And one of the Grayson, who I take with us, and I asked him, I said, do you know what radio is? And he said, you mean like Spotify? And I said, no. And he said, you mean like Pandora? And I said, no. 96 point whatever. Radio, and he did not know what radio was. Forget about cassettes and CDs and beta machines and those things, and he didn't even know about radio.
But you know what? When they do studies, And they would bring us these studies so we could talk about it at the radio station. And they say only X amount of percentage of people are listening to radio. What they have found out through their studies is the terminology the definition has changed. So the up and coming generation still calls it radio, but what Forrest and I, who came up through radio, is terrestrial radio, which, has a transmitter, and we receive it on a radio device, which is a receiver. But, none of this internet connectivity, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, but they still call it radio. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes it tough to do those kinds of surveys and studies when people are using the same term to describe two different things. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And people say, check the tape. Well, let's go back and watch the tape. Well, today's studios, nobody's using tape.
No.
So
it'll be interesting to hear that too after all these years.
Yeah.
I bet I sound like a chipmunk.
Oh, because of, yep.
Just I was younger and generally when you're younger, you talk faster and all that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't. That's why I don't have any air check, because I couldn't stop listening.
That's probably part of the reason. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that again. Yeah. And then the other thing that I did this last week that I wanted to share was I went, and I think this is the third time I've gone, went to the wheelchair support group for Rolling Start. And Richard Starts, again, was a guest within the last 3 months. And he's done such an extraordinary job. First of all, I want to give him props. When he started, actually, he has the job at Rolling Start now because he went to the support group. He was the only one that showed up. So he had a chance to sit one-on-one with the executive director. And by the end of their one-on-one chat, it kind of almost became an interview. And when they were done, she went away going, this is an extraordinary young man. We ought to see if we can put him to work. And, and one thing led to another. And now he's working at Rolling Start. Well, he has taken this group now to where it's like probably closing in on 30 people that were there. And, it's only going to grow from there. And from my perspective, I am looking at it as every one of these people on this support group could be a guest. And I've already reached out to a number of them, and they're all for it. So we've got some interesting stories that are coming up. From people that have been injured for years, they are 20 and 30 years post-injury, to a young man who's about 365 days in. You can practically count it in days. So it'll be interesting to hear the two different perspectives, where they are on that journey. And yeah. And then, so the last thing is too, I wanted to share 3 weeks ago, beginning of the episode, we talked a little bit about, I just posed the question, how long does it take you to put a pair of socks, pair of shoes, pair of pants on? And I kind of asked around to different people, and it was anywhere from, especially with able-bodied, it was like 30 seconds, maybe 90 seconds. And then, of course, people with a disability, it was a bit longer. Mine was like 7.5. I posed it to this group, never thinking that it was going to turn into what it did, but it easily was 20 to 30-minute conversation, and not so much about the time, but the technique. How do you do this? How do you do that? Do you do it on a chair? Do you do it in bed? How do you do it? Do you have some assistive technology that helps you? And it was awesome to listen, just sit back and kind of, it's almost like throwing a grenade in and watching it explode and all this stuff go on in a good way. But yeah, that was awesome. How was your week?
My week has been dealt with dealing with my mom, getting this whole thing as we discussed. And we released the last episode of our interview with the Romessa Rochelle winery / restaurant in Rome, Italy. And we find out about how they want to be green, and they actually are putting edible popcorn into their shipping boxes. and they found out it was edible. They knew ahead of time, but the customers were actually eating it because it looks so much like popcorn. And they said, yeah, you can, but it's not real popcorn. It's serving the purpose like you're packing.
Oh, so biodegradable maybe?
And food grade edible, apparently.
Wow, interesting.
And they shipped the first 400 cases of wine across the Atlantic Ocean from Rome, or the port out of whichever is in Rome, outside of Rome, and shipped it to their restaurant / winery in New York, and on a sailboat. So completely carbon neutral there.
Yeah.
So you can catch those out.
Truly carbon neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not these golf carts that are all over the country now.
Easy now, Doug. Easy.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just a storage unit that, on board. They call it renewable energy, and it's not. Has to be, the energy that's in those batteries have to be generated somewhere else. And many times it can be things that the people driving those cars don't like because they're bad for the environment. It could be a charcoal or a coal burning plant that generates electricity. It could be in their golf cart,
Right.
So but you're sailing across the ocean. That is the true carbon free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kudos. You're I'm sure sad to see her go. She is delightful to listen to. I am not a wine drinker, and I enjoy every episode. I don't think I've listened to 7 yet, so I'll have to jump on there. She's a great storyteller, and you're a great story elicitor. So it works well.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you haven't, I don't know. We've talked about your other kind of your other program that has come out of the Best 5-Minute Wine podcast. If you're new to wine, Forrest has a partner that they kind of educate people. Your Sour Grapes is the character's name, and Forrest. Go ahead.
I kind of named him that. Obviously, he's got a real name, but his radio name is Sour Grapes, just because he's kind of. I'll use one of Doug's favorite words, and it's so descriptive. Surly.
Yeah. He's irascible.
But I didn't. Like the radio term, nobody knows the term sour grapes, and it's like, okay. I had to look it up, and it's what I thought it was. But what is when you hear the term sour grapes, what do you think?
Well, generally, I understand sour grapes. In the wine context, I get that, but it's turned into, it's like an employee say that's left somewhere and they're disgruntled about where they work. Well, that's sour grapes. Yeah, is that characterizing that right? Yeah,
exactly. That's the way I was. Kind of like a poor loser, or just a bad attitude, or something. So that was the spin, and I had to. So
I'm shocked that people don't get that. So that's what you've run into. You haven't told me this before.
Yeah. I kind of hang with a younger crowd, so
Yeah, so they're the ones.
Yeah.
All right, good to know. Oh, one last thing, and then we'll break. But I went to leave to go to San Luis Obispo Saturday morning, get all packed up. I'm in the car. Last thing I do is I hit the garage door opener. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was the wrong setup. I go. I've got everything. I got my bag, and I'm heading to the car, and I hit the garage door opener, and it doesn't go. It goes about an inch, and it starts, having an episode, and I'm like, oh, geez. So my neighbor Juan is just the kindest guy in the world. He always helps me out, and so he comes over, and we kind of figure out what's wrong with it, why it's not working. We get it done, and I get on my way. So thinking, all right, I'll have to go to the front door and use my key to get in. I get home and I get to the front door. I get all the way to the front door, take my key. I have it on a lanyard around my neck, get it off. And I'm like, I don't have a key on this lanyard because I always go through the garage. I never use a key. So, but I know it's on a key chain inside the house. Oh gosh. So yeah, that turns into, what am I going to do? It's all locked up. I have no way to get in. I don't have a neighbor that has a key. So finally I realized, my daughter's got a key. So I take an hour drive back and forth to Rancho Cucamonga to get a key. Don't you remember, Dad, that you changed the key when you got that new front door and that key doesn't work? I drive home and, sorry, back up just a little bit. I call a locksmith friend of mine, and he's in Riverside, which is a good, at that time of day, 30, 40-minute drive. So and it's 100 degrees. Hello, everybody. I'm sitting out in front of the house. I find a little bit of shade, and I'm just waiting for him. And pretty soon I get a text. My car broke down. I'm going to have to get a tow. Okay. And so that's when I went to my daughter's. Came back, after I didn't.
You didn't call her ahead of time? Say, hey, I'm coming over?
I did, yes, but she didn't answer, which is unlike her. And I think I texted her. Come to find out, she was working late, which, again, she rarely does. And so that didn't work out. So I go back home, and Juan was out walking his dog. So he sees me, and I'm just sitting in the driveway. Because at this point now, I'm trying to contact another locksmith to come. And that's going to be $100. And God knows how long it's going to take. So I was just kind of settling in, staying in the car, got the air conditioner going. I'm going to wait for the locksmith to get there. And Juan walks up and kind of looking at me like, what's up? And so I said, I don't have a key. I'm an idiot. So he says, well, try the door. So he goes over and just like puts his fingers on it and starts pushing it up and was able to get it open. Ta-da! So I got in the house. So I got a garage door guy coming here soon. So, it was a full weekend. I never lost my temper during that entire thing. I'm very proud of that.
Well, especially with the circumstances.
Yeah.
It's, the definition of the perfect storm is multiple things coming together.
Yep.
And, the guy's car breaks down, so you save money there at least.
Mm-hmm.
The locksmith coming, and then 100 degrees didn't help, and the humidity was probably a little.
And this is all after a 5-hour plus drive coming from up in San Luis Obispo, and had a lot of things I wanted to do to get ready for our podcast today.
And you had a couple of tacos that were, boiling around in there.
Yep.
I know, because I talked to you, you were munching on the tacos when I called.
Oh yeah! Up until that moment, it was really. I kind of proud of myself, because I had stopped, get fairly close to home, got the tacos. Yeah, good. All right, that's check. And then through my friend Forrest, I recently got the Quick Quack monthly car wash thing. So I went and I got the car wash before I went home after the trip. Get all the bugs off of it. I stopped and gassed her up because gas is much cheaper where I get it here. I have one of those flex fuel vehicles, so I pay under $3 a gallon here in California, which, and once you leave the Southern California area, it's very hard to find that. So when I have to pay $5 a gallon, oh man, it hurts me to my soul. So I had to do that on one of the stops. But so gassed up before I came home, and then everything else unfolded. So, but I never lost my temper. It's part of being retired. I just find that you got all day. Don't worry about it. It is what it is.
Yep.
I kind of got, and that's not to say I don't get upset about things from time to time, but I'm doing better. I'm working on it. It's a journey. All righty. Are you ready for our episode?
I am ready. Looking forward to it.
Right on. We are talking Paralympics today. They are coming up in Paris in about a week. And before we get to that, two things. I want to say thank you to San Francisco Fencing, SF Fencing. They were on last week. Brandon Smith and Stacy Bridenstine. I think I'm hopefully coming close to pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for being with us last week. They gave us a little bit of insight into the para fencing, who to look for last week, and we're going to get a little more into it this week with Mike Rosenkrantz from SoCal Adaptive Sports. But first, we're going to hear all about professional training from Ugyar Professional Training here on Walk and Roll Live.
At Ugyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. UGYAR is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with UGYAR professional training and witness the growth of your business.
You're listening to Walk and Roll Live Disability Stories.
All right, we are back. Time to get serious on Walk and Roll Live. Well, not too serious. We never get too serious around here. We had a whole lineup of guests all planned out, and you know how that goes. Life has other plans sometimes. I know John Lennon said it very eloquently, much more eloquently than I can. But just other people had things going on in their lives that they just couldn't get away from for today's recording of Walk and Roll Live. So that's fine. We got Mike Rosenkrantz. He did show up from SoCal Adaptive Sports out in the desert near Palm Springs and that whole area. And Mike, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Mike Rosenkrantz, the director of SoCal Adaptive Sports. We're located in Indio, California, but we work out Southern California. The organization was incorporated in May of 2020, and I've been working in the field for about 13 years. I don't have a disability, but I'm sure as I age, I'm heading towards one.
Yeah.
So
one will catch up with you whether you like it or not. So,
I will embrace.
Michael, that whole introduction may seem very familiar because Michael was on can't be much more than a month to 6 weeks ago, telling us all about SoCal Adaptive Sports. And he's up on our events page a lot because he does a lot, and also on our resources page. You know, if you have a loved one or yourself is interested in any kind of adaptive sports, I would almost go to the point where I would say, if they don't do it yet and you're looking for it, they may help you find it and find a way, right?
Yeah, we do. We get calls from all over the place. And so I do a lot of referring out, as I fortunately know, a number of people in the field.
Right.
So yeah, give us a call, email us, and we will help you find an organization, that will work with you.
Is summertime particularly busy for you? Because I know you sent an email out 2-3 weeks ago, and I just kept scrolling and looking at all the things you were doing, archery and everything. Yeah,
well, part of that is that we also advertise other activities from other organizations.
Okay.
We've recently started a veterans page, and we recently started working with veterans. But yeah, summer was just over the top busy. As we did a couple of youth adaptive sport camps out in Riverside and Rancho Cucamonga.
Right.
Plus, we had all of our regular events. And then, weekends, we were just all over the place. We did some sailing. We did a veterans event at Pathfinder Ranch, our very first overnight. And it seemed to go, very well. I visited Camp Paivica a couple of times in the San Bernardino Mountains, which was really great. It gave me, more perspective, I think, on working with people with disability. But it was, August has given us a few more days to try and rest, which definitely need to do.
Started to catch up with you a little bit. You mentioned Camp Paivica before we started recording. I mentioned my brother went there probably at least 60 years ago. I think he was around 8 or 9, something like that. Yeah, so a long time history with disability, camping and exposing young kids to that with what they may not have been exposed to if it weren't for places like, there's many more now, but Camp Ivica definitely a leader in that field.
Yeah, it's just a great experience. I mean, I did sports, of course, but they have a pool, they have arts and crafts, they do nature walks, they do karaoke, they do other types of singing, they, do plays. I mean, it's just, it's a full camp experience. It's what I remember, going to camp as a youth. But this camp, focuses on people with disability. It's just terrific.
Yeah.
It's just terrific. And it's been going for, decades.
And the reason we have Michael back today is because we've just concluded the Olympics, and now they use the same facility every time the Olympics happens a few weeks later for the Paralympics. So they're getting ready to start on August 28th, and I think they go through September 8th, if I'm not mistaken. And we thought we would kind of highlight some events, kind of share some things with you to watch out for, some people to watch out for, that kind of thing. So we invited Michael on because he has the background that he does in adaptive sports, and then also a few other people, and just schedules being what they are, they weren't able to make it. Eric, who's normally here, he is off. I think immersed in some classes of some sort, like he always does, and he couldn't get this morning off because he had to be at the class. So we've got Forrest back again. Forrest Kelly with the Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast is going to be here to lend whatever he can in
thank you, Doug.
moving this whole endeavor along. Yes. So thank you. So just in we kind of talked a little bit about it last week because we had SF Fencing on, so they were giving us a little presser to let us know who to look for, what to look for, that kind of thing. A fellow named Garrett Shanuver, I think they coached him, and he's going to be at the Olympics. So look for that. One of the early things is, well, Michael, let me just turn it over to you a little bit. What are you looking forward to at this year's Paralympics? What sports look like they got some real good competitions happening?
Yeah, well, for me, I didn't watch really much of the Olympics. I watched the highlights of basketball primarily, and I'm much more interested in the Paralympics.
Yeah.
Given what I do. Our wheelchair basketball teams, the U.S., are incredible. And there's a lot of athletes who have been on the teams for a number of years who are continuing to play. So I'm really looking forward to wheelchair basketball, which is that, when you watch these elite athletes play, it's just a whole nother level.
Yeah.
A whole nother level. I mean, they're just, they might fall out of their chairs, but they're up in a second, right? Kind of thing. I've really come to like rugby. And we have some really good athletes in rugby. I mean, every sport to me, when you see these athletes, doesn't matter if they have a disability, they're elite and they train.
Yeah. And
they train really hard and they're just really, really good. You brought up the fencing. There was a good movie a few years ago called Phoenix Rising. And one of the athletes they hired was, I think she was from France, fencer. Not sure that she had any arms, but through prosthetics. And she was incredible. I really like archery. So I'm looking forward to seeing some archery. The track and field was always great. The swimming's great. I just look forward, Doug, just to seeing the elite athletes that participate in the Paralympics. And, again, it's about creating this awareness. It doesn't matter kind of what appendages you have, what your ability is. But an elite athlete is an elite athlete. It doesn't make a difference. So I want to see, all of these athletes, not just from the U.S., but all over the world.
Yeah.
Just, showcase their abilities.
You know what I've noticed in just the last week or so, and in trying to gain some knowledge, so I can not make a fool of myself here talking about this too much. But what I kind of started to notice was a lot of the Paralympians that are going to be in the competition this year, they have history going back 10, 11, 12, 15 years. So it kind of made me wonder, are there some new athletes that may emerge in these games? I mean, these folks are getting old as, in that arena, not old, because some of them are just in their 30s. But for an athlete at that elite level, that's got to be almost a grandfather, right? Grandmother.
Yeah. I think Forrest wanted to say something.
Did you have a take, Forrest?
Yeah. Michael, you mentioned your favorite sports that you're looking forward to in these things. Now, just kind of an analytical thing, a two-part question. First question is, why didn't you watch the Olympics? Now, for me personally, it was because it's on the Peacock app. And getting some of these things, I can't just turn on my DirecTV and go. I got to search for it, and then it's like, is it on? I know it's on Peacock because I've seen it. But you personally, real quick, why didn't you watch the Olympics?
Sure, let me answer that. But also, Doug. So there's this kid, Ezra Freck, who he's a teenager still, and he is the son of Clayton Freck. The founder along with his son.
Yeah, Angel City Sports.
Yeah, and he was featured in some of the ads. So he's a high jumper.
Yeah.
He's probably going to kick butt. He's like this really young guy, just this incredible athlete. But let me go to Forrest's question. I think part of it for me, and I don't know how true this is, but I wonder about the training of the Paralympian versus the Olympians.
Interesting.
A number of the Olympians, I think, I'm not 100% sure, they have sponsors and this is what they do all the time. I don't know if that's the case with Paralympians. I'm not sure, and I would need to do a little more research.
Well, I will tell you, Michael, in my dive that I did, I don't know if it was deep, but I did a dive. What started to emerge is I think Toyota has kind of thrown their hat behind a lot of athletes, because I found these vignettes that they had put together for a number of different athletes. So I think how widespread that is, or not, I don't know. But yeah, to your point, there is some.
Are they doing it collectively or individual athletes?
There was quite a few, so I don't know if it's some kind of an initiative to do it, athlete wise, or they picked and chose. I don't know. But continue, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's incredible what these elite athletes in the Olympics are able to do. But I don't know. It just seems professionalized.
Yeah.
And I've been soured a little bit. I love sports, and I always love sports, but I've been soured a little bit by the amount of money that is spent on, arenas. Like, Steve Ballmer just built this arena for the Clippers, $2 billion. The amount of money that was spent for the Olympics, $9 billion. And I don't think that includes hotels and all that. And I just think about all of the other issues throughout society. And what could you do with $9 billion? There's a lot that you could do. So I think it's just a little bit over the top for me. And I'm not downplaying the athletic accomplishments of these. They're super human beings, no matter whether they're Paralympians or Olympians. So I think I'm a little turned off, although, the contradiction is I watch the professional men and women's, U.S. basketball teams, the highlights. So there's always contradictions in life.
Right.
Well, that's where the college and the pros come in. A lot of people like the college for your exact reason. People, they're playing these games because they love the game. And they're not playing these games because they're endorsing Gatorade or some product.
Yeah. So I think it's a really bigger issue for me in why I didn't watch as much. And I don't know, have I ever watched that much? I'm not sure. But there are other things that I focus on. Right?
So that leads me to the second part of my question was the specific events in the Paralympic Games. I know just doing some research and talking with Doug, I was fascinated with, how do you say it, Doug? Bocce ball?
Yeah.
So, boccia.
Boccia, okay.
Bocce ball. I was fascinated with that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how, because of the different perspective that these athletes have, the technology that they're going to bring to showing it to TV, and in that they can probably get right close to the person with a camera or different things that they can't do with the Olympics, where they kind of do it from afar. Here, that they can get right into it. So that's the part that I'm looking forward to it. And you mentioned specific events. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't mention boccia. I should have, because we offer boccia all over the place. In fact, when I was at Camp Pivika a week and a half or so ago, so I introduced boccia to a guy in a power chair who had never even heard of the game, cerebral palsy. So we had brought a ramp that he could use, and he just loved the sport. He was like, yeah. And I said, LA 2028 guy. So, boccia, very strategic, very, very strategic game. And the thing about it is everyone can play either, some people use head pointers, a mouth pointer, the ramps with an assistant with their back to the jack ball. The balls are of different weights, but it's such a great game. And you're right, most of the people that we introduce boccia to have never even heard of it. They're like, oh, bocce? I say, no, it's not bocce. It's boccia. It's a Paralympic version of bocce ball, which is 5,000 years old, actually. It's a very old sport.
Wow.
And it's just a great sport and opportunity for everybody to play. USA Boccia, which I'm affiliated with, is really pushing the sport, again, because everyone can play. I mean, we play with people with Alzheimer's, people with developmental disability, people with physical disability. It's a great game for seniors.
So is that part of the draw, that it's so accessible, that not a lot of finances to get equipment? You can take it anywhere, you can play it. You don't need a specific kind of arena of some sort, right?
I think you're right. You can buy a practice set for $125 or so. And a more competitive set is a lot more. I don't know, $500. The ramps are a little bit more expensive, $800. I don't know how much head pointers are, but USA Boccia is really trying to make the game much more accessible by, again, depending on how much equipment they have, by lending out the equipment, which is great. Because again, how do you create more awareness to get more people to play the sport?
Yeah. And for an organization like yourself, the investment in getting the equipment so that you can share it with, your constituents is much cheaper.
Yeah.
You can touch more people.
Yeah. I think another thing about the Paralympics is, people watching for the first time will say, oh, it's so inspiring. And for me, it's converting those people and saying it may be inspiring, But it's also, these are elite athletes.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that maybe they have visual impairment. These are still elite athletes, no matter what. And that's the thing that you really need to appreciate. And that's why we need to create a lot more access. So everybody can play, everybody can do whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping the Paralympics will continue to do that and bring in more people to watch and start to understand and go, oh yeah, what can I do to remove barriers so that everyone can participate?
Yeah. This is something you do every day and have done every day for years and years and years. And so I'd love to get your kind of your take on this. One thing I know for sure is that if somebody is an athlete of some sort before they have an injury that, renders them disabled, that is still there, right? So you, I'm sure, have a lot of people coming to you that, I still want to be involved in some kind of sport. Help me do that with whatever adaptation that you have. So are there other folks that then come to it because, maybe I'm not sure exactly where I'm going, but I'm wondering if it helps them re-enter the world at large so they know that they don't have to be isolated. So sports is kind of that little door that gets them to other things as well. So yeah, maybe explore that for us.
Yeah, that I think for many people, they say, oh, I don't like sports, I'm not an athlete, blah, 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 blah. And it's just not true, at least from my perspective. Everyone wants to participate on some level. And it's, again, it's not about making a basket. It's about, can I dribble a ball?
Yeah.
And it's about the social aspect.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I'm going to make new friends. And that's what it turns out to be, I think, for a large number of people. Most of us are not going to be elite athletes. We want to be recreational athletes because we want to stay in shape. That's really important. But
mentally and physically, right?
Yeah, mentally and physically. But, the one thing that I observed a lot, especially with like wheelchair basketball or sports played in wheelchairs, is how, before practice, before a game, after game, people will just circle up, right? And part of it, as you know, Doug, it's just about seeing people who look like you, who are experiencing,
My brother played wheelchair basketball, organized, and went to tournaments. They traveled and all that. So he came down here. He's in Northern California. He came down to Southern California for a tournament. So it was really kind of the first time I saw actually, 11 or 10 guys on the court all playing, and I'm kind of wondering what's this going to be like. It is amazing. So, to our listeners, if you've never watched wheelchair basketball, the agility, the athleticism, you'd think that they would be running into each other all the time. And there, of course, is that. But the finesse with which they find a lane and get through a lane while they're dribbling a ball to get to the basket. And and I would almost predict that pretty much all 10 of those guys were probably going to come out of the chair at some point or another, because it's a very physical game, right?
Yeah, but back to your point, I think it is very social. For the people with developmental disability that I work with, these guys have made best friends, right? And they come out and do, not just sports, but other kinds of social activities. Yeah. So I think it's what we all kind of desire. And sport just happens to be a great venue for being able to bring people together. I mean, the
Yeah.
thing that I like about, the Olympics, even though it is so costly, is that it brings people from different countries together. Now, I mean, some countries don't participate because of politics, and that's really too bad.
Yeah.
But I think that's the greatness, of sport. Beyond all the professional, the money that's spent and all that. It brings people together. It creates community. And, that's why I've played since I was, 5 years old, 4 years old. I just love it,
Yeah.
and I think most people do.
Yeah. It's interesting. The more I listen to you talk and listen to your perspective, especially where Paralympics vis-a-vis the Olympics goes, it seems like the Paralympics has more of the essence that we kind of grew up with the Olympics, was that you had these, we would hear the stories of some elite athlete who's getting ready to go into, the 100-meter dash, and we find out that his real life, he's a postman, and he delivers mail every day and has to find somewhere in all of that, to train for 3 or 4 years getting to the Olympics. And now it's all about it seems like the sponsorships and you see it overproduced. Instead of just telling that kind of story about the postman, it's, how Toyota, I shouldn't mention any names, but how the sponsor puts together a very polished vignette where they are prominently, displayed in that, how they help that athlete get to the Olympics. So yeah, it just kind of smacks of that. Yeah. Too much,
Yeah.
and not about the actual athlete. Yeah.
It's a different kind of thing. I see ads on Facebook for, hey, hire a coach to train your kid, and I see children on playgrounds, right, with a person teaching them how to play basketball. It's not, let's just go out and have fun. It's, okay, let's become trained so we can become, I don't know, play in college. How many people actually make it in professional sports? Not that many. So it's become, I guess, it is a profession, but it's more of a serious kind of thing. So I love it more when, this person has trained for the past 5-6 years, but here's what they do, 40 hours a week beside training.
Yeah.
This is it.
And then with the Paralympics, you add on top of that, this other kind of disadvantage that they have in, their lack of some ability or not. Yeah. They've got to overcome that as well.
Something that was really interesting to me was, so I recently saw an article. It was about, why isn't there a professional wheelchair basketball league in the U.S.? And so a lot of the Paralympians will play in Europe, during the off season when the National Wheelchair Basketball Association is not playing, which is like October through April, I believe. And it's, again, thinking about, okay, $9 billion was spent for the Paris Olympics. Could some of that money be spent to start a wheelchair basketball league? So there's still, I guess the point is, there's still these inequities. Why aren't there professional, wheelchair sports in the U.S.? Why aren't we seeing, professional, these guys who play rugby, wheelchair rugby, who are professionals, or wheelchair basketball? So, there always will be a fight, but there is a fight for, just this equity.
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason why, I prefer to watch the Paralympics. There still is a ways to go, but I'm going to do what I can to support, so that we can have more equity.
I know we got into this a little bit. I was talking with Taya Rosa, who was on our show, I think it was late last year, a world-class competitor in hand cycling. And I think she won world a few times. I think she was just shy of going to the Olympics. I can't remember the specifics of that, but I think she was on her way and got an injury. That's what we were talking about it the other day. But she was talking about that exact same thing, that in Europe, yeah, there's whole, there's, what would you call it? The whole season for like her sport in particular, where they go to different countries around Europe and, they all compete together, and there's a whole league, I guess you maybe would call it. Yeah, but none of that kind of goes on in the United States. So that's where they kind of all go. And another gentleman that I know who is a high-level athlete, to qualify, he was saying to qualify, there's no qualifier in the United States. So you have to go to Europe to qualify, because a lot of times you need to qualify to go on to the Olympics or that kind of thing in particular sports. So, yeah, it's, that's another hardship. You got to travel out of the country to just do that. So,
yeah, it's kind of like, with the women's NBA, many of the women go overseas. We saw what happened to Brittany Griner. Because there isn't equity, in what they get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, they play, their games are incredible. They play just as hard as the men, but the salary differential is just, it's ridiculous. And why is that? Why shouldn't we see, women getting a similar salary to men? Why don't we see a wheelchair basketball league where people get paid enough to live on, for the year? I mean, these guys are elite athletes. Why not?
Television revenue.
Yeah, I was going to say economics is what the leagues or the owners would tell you, But I think that's going to change with somebody like Caitlin Clark, who's bringing so many eyeballs. Revenue is going to go up, and that's going to, that, what do they say? The rising tide raises all boats, so I think that will be, and hopefully they don't miss their opportunity and the leverage that they have to do just that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So good for them. So Forrest, what did you miss? You got kicked off, probably technology got you, huh?
Well, somebody decided to start the router because their game wasn't going fast enough. Without checking.
Not mentioning any names, but
exactly.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions you want to bounce off of Michael?
Well, Michael, for the viewers or our listeners on, audio only listeners, your studio, I was kind of analyzing your backdrop there, and I see your Knicks. Is that a New York Knickerbocker shirt? Is there some history behind that? Because there's got to be some kind of New York tie.
My whole family is from New York. My parents moved to California, in the 50s. But very beloved mentor, uncle, passed away last November. Big New York Knicks fan, and I sent him that shirt for his birthday. And my aunt said, would you like to have it? And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
So beside the Lakers, I'm rooting for the Knicks now.
I got to go to last year at Christmas time for my wife loves Mariah Carey, so I got to go to Madison Square Garden, and it was the first time I've been, not the original garden, obviously, but it was so neat. I love the part because the taxi dropped us off across the street, and we dipped into this pizza place. I forget the name of the pizza place, but I looked it up on Yelp, and it was one of the best rated pizzas. And it just had the history, and walk in, and they got the 10 people behind the counter. Hey, welcome! And they're back there doing the spinning the pizza, the dough up in the air, and they're just this energy and vibe. And all the memorabilia on the walls, and then walking into the garden and seeing, Walt Frazier and Willis Reed and all of the people that I grew up listening to, whenever they'd play the Lakers, because that was always a nationally televised game, the Lakers and the Knicks back in the day. And I can understand, your history.
Yeah, I actually got to go to a game with my uncle. So the Knicks play the Magic a few years ago. And it was just, it's something I'll always remember.
Yeah, what a treasure.
Being with him. Yeah.
And the others, just briefly before we move on, but I was enjoying it. My eyes just keep going to all the things in your backdrop. It's, in this age of Zoom over the last few years, everybody kind of has stage things or there's templates that you can just put in the Zoom, the San Francisco bridge we've all seen. But so are those kites, or are they just wall? You have some butterflies I was curious about.
Yeah, I have some kites. I have some stuff from when I lived in India.
Yeah.
I just put stuff up.
Yeah.
So.
Visually interesting.
I like
it.
From India?
Say it again.
Do you miss the humidity from India?
I don't, I miss. So I lived in India, Nepal for 7 years, 2009 to 2016, and that's how I got started in adaptive sports. I know I'll go back again. You miss the people, you miss the food, you miss, certain things, you miss the how foreign it is. But I'm glad I had that experience, and it's helped me in creating SoCal Adaptive Sports, and also just in kind of my perspective on bringing about a lot more societal inclusion, because disability, of course, is very different in India and Nepal. Access is certainly not as great, but I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I hadn't gone. So,
are there efforts to make gains in that area, accessibility? Yeah.
Well, so in India, there's a lot more. There's a lot of organizations that are doing quite a bit, especially in New Delhi. Nepal's a little bit of a different place. The infrastructure is different, but there are, a number of groups that are trying to really do more. I think, something that Steve Kerr said last night at the Democratic Convention about, we brought 12 people together and they, won the gold. Well, how do we bring 330 million people together?
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's also, how do you bring the world together? I think Ralph Warnock said a few words about that last night. And that's the key. How do we bring people together so we can create a lot more societal inclusion? How do we lower our egos so that we're working for others? And I think that's a lot of what, I was taught living overseas and then coming back to the U.S. So lots more work to do, but it's all good, I mean, you have this podcast which educates people.
We're trying. We're trying.
Can you imagine getting any kind of traction? I was just thinking about what you were saying, starting in Nepal, and it's like you're situated in the Himalayan mountains. You've got, the world's tallest mountains. There's not a flat surface around there. If you can get some traction, like Doug said, get some traction in Nepal, well, you're limitless after that.
Yeah, well, if you can get traction even in Kathmandu. So I used to play basketball a lot in Kathmandu. The courts aren't great, and I injured myself a couple of times so that I had to have crutches. And then, trying to get around Kathmandu with crutches and all that. I had a taste of what it was like.
Yeah, and that's one of the most ambulatory, disabilities, right? That's one of the easiest ones. Yeah.
But you'd see these guys in wheelchair, pushing down the street, with all kinds of ruts and stuff. You just go, and mud, and just go, you guys are pretty amazing, because they can't get on the buses, right? So they're pushing for miles and miles to get to wherever they need to go, and they do it.
That's one of those things that, and I've told the story here before, but when I first did the first adaptive event that I did was a triathlon and with possibilities, and they brought Carlos Maleta, who's been on the show, but they brought him to ride along with me on the hand cycle portion, and that was basically his advice to me. He says it's all in your mind. Your body can do everything. The limitation is your mind. So that speaks to it right there. And I hate to say it, but in this country, to push a wheelchair through a muddy street, no, they would just give up. What? There's no paved road. I'm not going there. Yeah. But if you have to, I say that all the time, even with myself, but I have to, especially as I get older, I'm much more amiable to help. If somebody offers, yes, I will accept that help. But
and you do it.
Yeah. But if you weren't here, I would do it somehow, some way. So just to circle back around to the Paralympics, I have a list, and there's like 20, I think it is, different competitions, which we were mentioning bocce ball before. That's the only one that there isn't a correlation between the regular Olympics, right? There's no bocce ball in regular Olympics. Everything else is some, manifestation of it. So there's archery and badminton and canoe, all of these. You're probably pretty familiar. I did find one, maybe you could help me. What is para-athletics?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Not for. I'll have to look that up and see. I was curious what that is. I wonder if it's like a decathlon kind of thing where it's multidiscipline or something. And we touched on rugby a while ago. That is intense. There's a movie out years ago, a documentary where they called it Murder Ball. And if you watch it for a while, you'll know why. So if you get a chance, if you can't watch all of the events, basketball, I would say definitely got to watch, and rowing is fun. Swimming, tennis is going to be very good too, I think. And, but yeah, rugby, you got to check that out. We talked about fencing last week. Tennis should be fun. Yeah. So anything else you're looking forward to, Michael?
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be really fun.
Have you tried wheelchair basketball yourself?
Oh, yeah, because I coached that.
How'd you do?
So, in order to coach, I'm okay. I can push up and down the court pretty decently. But someone who plays, they'll just steal the ball from me or go right around me.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But when I teach other able-bodied, I'm the best player on the court.
Yeah, I'm just saying. And you're the king. I like it. Okay, Forrest, what do you got?
Well, I was just going to ask a couple of trivia questions. I was looking at the Olympics.com Paralympics//Para Games, and there's some trivia, and Michael seems like he's up for it. And this one is kind of a true or false question. Or no, it's not true or false. Oh, you select the answer. You do need hands or you do not need hands, and you too, Doug, can answer.
Oh, good.
In table tennis, in the Paralympics, you do need hands or you don't need hands?
Michael is shaking his head with a scoffing look on his face. Yeah, I think he knows the answer.
You could use a prosthetic. I don't know if people use their feet. Maybe.
Yeah, they show. I was looking at the picture on the Olympic website, and they're showing an Egyptian player, and he has no arms, and he's holding it in his hand, and he's
Hang on a second.
stabilizing himself with his leg on the table. And it's like, wow, try that, professionals.
Okay, hang on one second. Describe that one more time, because you said he had no arms, but he was holding it with his hand. So,
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's holding it with his mouth.
Mouth. Okay, there we go.
The paddle's in his mouth. The long part is in his mouth, and then he's got his head bent down, and he's serving the ball, and his heel is on top of the table, stabilizing himself and doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
The next question. This one's has to do with blind football and goal ball, they call it. Where all of the participants, I don't know if they're sighted or they're not, but they all have blinders on. They're all wearing like the sleep masks. So it doesn't clarify whether they're half-sighted or fully blind or whatever, but you fill in the blank. The balls used in blind football and goal ball are filled with what?
Bells.
Doug, your answer?
Can you repeat the question?
The balls used in blind football and goal ball are filled with what?
I have to come up with something. There's no multiple choice. Can I call a friend?
What? Yeah. Michael said bells.
Bells.
So
I feel like there's some kind of electronic beeping device.
that's what I would kind of go with that. But the correct answer, according to the Paralympics website, is bells.
Bells.
Yeah, they're going. So you can. I guess I'm thinking that they're using bells because you could translate that to any technology.
Yeah.
Whether it's from a poor community or here, they're putting a bell in, right?
You know, for baseball, there is a beeper, right?
In the ball.
Yeah, and also on the base. So, but yeah, I have a goal ball. Sorry, I know.
I figured I was in a disadvantage in this game, but that's all right.
You don't have it there with you where we could hear a sound, do you?
It's somewhere in the garage.
You just kind of walk up and start hitting boxes, and then you hear the bell.
Then you'll find it. Yeah. All right, you got another question?
Oh, I got a bunch. If you want more,
Yeah, let's go at least one more.
okay. Let me. How many times in wheelchair tennis? How many times? Michael just threw up the peace sign, so you didn't see it. So, Doug, how many times are they allowed for the ball to bounce before they have to hit it back over the net?
Twice. In tennis, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same in pickleball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I at Abilities Expo, I played a little tennis, and I learned that. And I was much. I don't even know if I want to say much better. I was far less bad at tennis than I thought I would be. I caught on pretty quick. Yeah.
Really
So
good.
since you guys are 3 for 3 on this deal here,
What was? Hang on, real quick. What was Michael? What were you saying about tennis, Michael?
It's a hard sport.
Yeah.
I tried with that, and if you don't keep moving your hands on the wheels, you're dead.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that was the part that I was a little nervous about was, because you push, right, obviously, with your hands on the wheels, but you have to hold a racket and then you have to push to a place in time to hit the ball. How does that all, but I was able to do, I'm sure that whoever I was playing wasn't making, difficult shots, but still in that very rudimentary level that I was trying it at, I was surprised that I could do all those things, get there, and even get the racket on the ball. Whether I could hit it over the net or not, whole nother story. But yeah, it was pretty surprising. All right, so go ahead, Forrest. What do you got?
is there video of that?
No, I'm sure not.
Okay. I'd like to see that. Okay, in this particular sport, no prosthetics or prosthesis are allowed. Name the sport.
The Paralympic sport or sport,
Yes.
adaptive sport.
There's no, you have to do it without aid of accessories.
swimming.
Michael says swimming. Doug says he's looking at the list, right?
Yeah, I am looking at the list. A little cheating going on here.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. Para-athletics.
Yeah.
How about real guess? I'm going to say archery.
No,
for no
swimming.
particular reason. Swimming.
Yeah,
Swimming. Okay.
Yeah.
We're watching. Yeah. Those guys are incredible. Hey, I wanted to tell your listeners too that so November 8th through 10th, we're having a wheelchair tennis camp at Indian Wells Tennis Garden. So it's very reasonable. We've really brought the cost way down. So
awesome. Do you have a flyer and all the information already? Send that to me and I will put that on our events page so you can look for that if you want to get your reservation in.
Oh, that's a beautiful arena. That's a top of the line facility in the world.
It will sell out. So yeah.
I went to a clinic or an event at the Claremont, I think it's Claremont Tennis Club. And this was years ago because I'm a Kiwanian, or I was a Kiwanian, and they sponsored it. So I went out and wow. I mean, there had to be 50 to 100 wheelchair tennis players, in everything imaginable, different adaptations that they were doing. There was one fella, you talk about the table tennis player, was it right? Table tennis that didn't have any arms. There were guys in power chairs that spent, 30, 40 minutes taping their racket to their arms that weren't really, they really couldn't use their arms effectively. So they used the joystick. The joystick on their power chair to get to the ball and then position themselves with the racket, and we're doing really remarkably well. So talk about not having any excuses, huh?
Did you say camp, Michael?
Say what?
The event in November at Indian Wells is a camp?
It's a camp, yeah, for all levels of players.
Now, when you say camp, that intonates something different than just an event or a day class or something. Why? Yeah, what makes it a camp?
2.5 days. It's instruction. So we have a bunch of great wheelchair tennis coaches, including a national coach who will be coming wherever they're coming from. We're working with USTA. And these camps are held, there aren't that many held throughout the country, maybe 4 or 5. And this is just going to be perfect. I mean, November, it won't be hot, hopefully, but it's going to be really, really fun. Yep. So sign up because, as I said, it will sell out and we are limited.
Awesome. Well, I think that's probably all the time we have for today. Any other particular events or people that people should look out for? Well, we got you for a few more moments, Michael.
We, sign up for our newsletter. Go to our website.
There we go.
So much.
Awesome.
So much. Yeah. We're also, I just want to tell you, we're talking with a group in South Central, people who are victims of gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at doing an adaptive sports fair there, hopefully towards the end of February. Just another group of people that I haven't really worked with, but, probably could really use some hope that they can continue to play. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Michael's mailing list, so I'm sure I'll see that go through, and anything I see like that, I put on our events page. So, go there periodically to see if you can find anything new. We'll alert you to it here on the program from week to week, but feel free anytime to go look and see what the latest stuff SoCal Sports, Adaptive Sports is doing, and anybody else that might interest you. All right. Thank you for having some time and sharing it with us. Get some rest. I know you've been busy, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks so much. Good to meet you, Forrest.
Tuned in to Walk and Roll Live podcast. Such a refreshing perspective on life and disability. Love it.
Every episode brings a new story that's both inspiring and eye-opening. Can't get enough.
The hosts make you feel like you're part of a genuine conversation. Walk and Roll Live is my weekly dose of positivity.
Walk and Roll Live is a game changer. It's not just about disabilities. It's about embracing life's challenges with a smile. Highly recommend.
My go-to podcast for real, unfiltered conversations. It's like having a cup of coffee with friends who share incredible stories.
Walk and Roll Live. Welcome to Walk and Roll Live with Doug Vincent and Eric Agula and Mr. Happy for Your Life and Mr. Fire.
Welcome back. Thank you for having me as a guest. I'm Forrest Kelly. Doug, thank you for letting me fill in and have some fun. Michael, it was great talking with Michael and finding out all about the Paralympics, and I'll definitely going to try and watch this time around.
Yeah. This is going to hopefully get me excited to sit and watch. And thank you for coming on. I know we spent a lot of time in the last couple of days trying to put some stuff together. We're not by any means, professional analysts of Olympics or Paralympics or anything like that. And that's all it was meant to do, is just to kind of highlight it, touch upon it a few times. We had Michael on. And I think we probably mentioned somewhere there in the interview that we had a few other people lined up and their schedules just didn't work out. So a real special thank you to Michael for being here and helping us out and bringing his expertise through everything that he does with SoCal Adaptive Sports. We talked a little bit about that tennis camp, and he emailed me the event link. So I definitely will be putting that up on our events page. And there's some other things I've added in the last week, always adding something new. So go check that out on either the events page or the resource page, some new resources as well. So cool. And thank you for being here, Bubba. Always fun when you're on.
I wanted to mention, too, that I think it's been about a month ago when I was listening on Amazon Music on the TV. That's the only place I have it, on the TV. So I was, I got the notification for a new episode, and I was watching, King of Queens, which is my favorite, one of my favorite shows. And as soon as that episode was over, I said, hey, Amazon, tune into Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories. And so it was playing, and I was doing some dishes and doing other things and around the house, and the interview was over, and it kept playing. And I thought, whoa, hey, what's going on here? There's still music. And I was digging the song. And so now I've kind of grown to, at the end of the episode when the interview is over, to stop listening, don't stop listening, and to see what song you're going to play. I like that you kind of had a Beach Boys one here a little while ago.
Kind of the beginning of summer, I got one that was a little upbeat, fun Beach Boy style. Yeah.
Yeah. So good job on the music selection. Now it's kind of I'm kind of intrigued to see what style and flavor of music you're going to put at the end of the whole episode.
So through the this is all I think I have early dementia coming on sometimes. But artificial intelligence, we found a website where it creates songs for you in various ways, and it usually does them in pairs. And I think this will be the second version of the two that I got last week. And it's kind of I don't know if people are familiar with the term yacht rock. So it's got a little bit of that feel. It's kind of 80s kind of a thing, I think. You'll be surprised if it's not, whatever it is. Yeah, I kind of add that little nugget. I haven't talked about it. Forrest found it, and so we thought we would kind of hip you to it. So, yeah, after the interview is all done, wait till the very end. There's a little nugget there.
Some good stuff.
I try. Together, you and I, we collaborate on a lot of different things and ideas, and I try to bring them to the show. Try to be as entertaining as I can make it here in my little studio. So
I want to mention too that the lyrics. I have a tough time hearing the lyrics and deciphering the lyrics, but just keep in mind when you're listening to the song that the lyrics are from Doug's mission statement, and they are designed lyrics. They're just not bubblegum lyrics that have nothing to do with anything, but they have to do with the mission statements and the life limitless theme.
Yeah. Yeah, what we do here at Walk and Roll Live, what you're so gracious to spend time and listen to our guests and what we're trying to accomplish. That's kind of what the songs are about in a fun, lighthearted way. So hopefully you enjoy them. And on that note, I just want to say next week we are getting a gal on that I met. I think the first time I met her was when we went to the Triumph Foundation Adaptive Sports Festival up in Santa Clarita. Her name is Rebecca Valenzuela, and been kind of coercing her, or it started with an invitation, and I've had to kind of woo her a little bit to get her to come on. And so she's going to come on next week. And I just learned a little fun fact just today, actually, watching a travel log kind of YouTube guy. Goes a lot of times to middle Central American countries, and he's in Valenzuela, the one I was watching today. And there was, way back in the day when I think it was a Spanish territory when they first discovered it. There was this area where there was houses, I think on a lake, that were on stilts, and it reminded him of Venice, right, in Italy. So he called it Valenzuela, which is Little Venice.
Oh. Okay.
I haven't double checked that, but that's what he was saying, and he seems to know what he's talking about. So we'll have her on next week. So we're going to let you go. Thank you for listening. Thanks again to Michael. Thanks to Forrest. Listen to the Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast. It is a hoot, and we'll see you next week right here on Walk and Roll Live.
Walk and roll live. Life's the best. Walk and roll live. Life limitless. We gather here tonight. Hearts and wheels we shine bright. Rolling through this life. Every step a brand new vibe. Voices loud and clear. Stories shared without a fear. Life's a song we steer. With each turn we cheer and steer. Walk and roll life. Feel the beat inside. Together we thrive in this dance of life. Cheers and dreams in sync. Miles of joy in every blink. Life's not what you think. On this stage we're in the pink. Walk and roll life. Feel the beat inside. Together we thrive in this dance of life. Hold my hand, let's glide. Barriers we defy. With every wheel we ride. Stronger side by side. Walk and roll life. Feel the beat inside. Together we fly in this dance of life. Cheers and dreams in sync. Miles of joy in every blink. Lots of joy in bright in this dance of life. Cheers and dreams in sync. Miles of joy in a new vibe. Feel the beat inside. Together we thrive in this dance of life. Cheers and dreams in sync. Miles of joy in every blink. Voice and dreams in sync. Miles of joy in every blink. Life's not what you think. On this stage we're in the pink.